This week's guest is presented to you by Bertarelli Cutlery. Marco Bertarelli at Bertarelli Cutlery has been in the knife sharpening business for decades. It's a family-owned business straight from the mother country of Italy. Marco is a dear friend, and they've been a partner with Illinois Recovery Center and offering second chance jobs for folks that are leaving treatment and looking for work. Please check them out at bertarellico.com. That's BERTARELLICO.com. And you can always find them in their retail store at 1927 Marconi Avenue on the Hill in St. Louis, Missouri. bertarellicutlery.com.
Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. React if you have to. Yeah. Don't know the time, yeah. Just know that I'm, yeah, one of a kind, yeah. What's on your mind, yeah. What hard to find, yeah. Beautiful mind, yeah. Still in my prime, yeah. Just know that I'm here.
What's up, everybody? Season 2, Episode 6, Pondoff's Anonymous.
Here we are.
Hosted by Illinois Recovery Center.
That's right.
Guests so far, and moving forward to TBD, presented by Bertarelli Cutlery. Cut your finger off with those knives, but that's a good thing, right? They're pretty sharp. Almost as sharp as our guest tonight.
That's right. You should see those kicks.
Yes, sir.
He's got some good shoes. I'll tell you a story about his shoes. He's got a, you think, he's got a problem.
Yes. Yes. Allegedly.
We talked about Celebrate Recovery last week.
Yeah.
They need to have a group for shoes.
Sneakerheads.
Yeah.
Eric and a bunch of wives.
Eric Conley, the sneakerhead.
Yeah. They're all relatively efficiently priced shoes, though. That's the only difference.
So as the only non-addict around this table, I'm noticing a trend that you just trade one for another.
Yeah.
Correct. That is true. That is true.
He's not wrecking his Jeep into a bridge embankment because he has too many Jordans.
Yeah. No.
Exactly.
One is extremely more healthier than the others physically, I would say.
Sure. Well, that's the voice of Eazy-E, Eric Conley, brother and CEO and founder of Illinois Recovery Center.
Mm-hmm.
And first repeat guest, right?
Yeah. Look at that.
Eric joined Pondoff's Anonymous as a guest in 2020. And it recently just got, I think I commented, like it was a memory on Facebook, and I commented on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of people, I guess it bumped it to the top of the algorithm. A bunch of people are like, that's not, I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
I think that was during COVID, wasn't it?
When you did it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you called in.
Yeah.
So it was.
I think it was in the basement.
We were all in basements.
Yeah. We're all in basements.
It's in the basement wearing a cutoff. It's like a subtle flex. Oops, sorry. Didn't know I was supposed to be here.
Is the camera that way? And then you like.
Yeah, right.
The first repeat guest. You were working for a different treatment facility back then, and we talked about the the before and the during, and we'll touch on that tonight. But man, this is going to be a fun show to talk more about the what was next after 2020, because you've been up to quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, it's your wildest dreams do come true.
It's wild, and to be able to kind of have a front row seat to that has been one of my life's greatest pleasures, man. It's barely been something. I'm not going to blow you the whole episode, but it'll be a good mixture of some chirping, some ass kissing, a little sucking, and back to chirping. But so Jakob's back. He missed last week. He was cleaning up his girlfriend's stomach virus, and what a sweetheart.
Yeah.
What a sweet boy.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Right. Yeah.
The rubber gloves on and the mopping glow.
I'm sure no one's ever cleaned up his puke before.
I can smell it just talking about it.
Fucking horrible.
But hope you're doing better, Laurel. Yeah, so welcome back, Jakob, and I've been looking forward to this because, we're not like fucking trained journalists. We just sit here and interview. Where were you the night of Tuesday, 2012? I'm just gonna bullshit and talk a little bit about the facility we're at and how it came to be. I think is, it's important, but the story itself is. Eric says it often in communications here internally and externally and on emails and text messages. When he uses the word hope, he capitalizes it, HOPE, exclamation point. And I does that for a reason because it's like your story since, and I'll let you tell it, your words to me was a temper tantrum to where we're at today. What is it? The 24th of February, 25.
24th.
Yeah. So is hope what I call hope, like that you can see and touch, tangible, visible hope coming to like reality. What do you think about that? It's pretty good, huh?
Yeah. No,
I nailed it. I'm sorry. I'm jerking myself off a little bit here before we get to you.
Yeah.
See it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Still can't fucking believe it.
Yeah, it's a feeling of the inmates now have the keys. So there's a feeling of is this legal?
You say to me almost, I'd say maybe not daily, but definitely weekly that you're just like waiting for somebody to take it away from you.
Yeah. No, that's
not happening.
That's unfortunately and I think in a lot of ways fortunately that's a real feeling.
Sure.
So it every day it makes sure that the gratitude is present.
Yeah.
Because this is once again, it sounds cliche, but it's real. It's a dream come true. So, and then when you do it with people you love and people that have the same admiration and ambition and, that in itself is motivating and it's contagious.
It is.
So it's a real feeling though. But yeah, I'm waiting for someone to pull into the entrance and say like, all right, buddy, you had enough time. Give me those keys.
Well, if they do that, it can be like a private equity firm. Till then,
yeah,
it ain't happening. This has been, I don't know where to start because there's so many cool, like pivotal, what I call fucking God moments. And I think you've called it that before too. Where you, let's take it back to you got upset about a vision change, I think, at your old facility. And to go back to that, when we were doing the podcast in 2020, we had, we're not like Joe Rogan views and getting money for it, but we had a ton of people reaching out to us. Where do we get started? Where do we get help? Mm-hmm. Families, some people that were actually at rock bottom listening. And we sent him to Eric, wherever he was. And he happened to be at a facility out in Missouri, and it wasn't even a question. It was, I got a guy, a gal, or a mother, usually, and you call Eric, and I didn't have to do anything else. That was the easy part, was connecting the dot, and no matter what they had, didn't have, if they wanted treatment bad enough, Eric made a place for him in the facility he was at, and subsequently, come to find out, since we got to know each other, Jakob, that's where you were at. And it sounds like from your story that some visions changed, mm-hmm. and was a blessing for me to be a part of this, because there's no Illinois Recovery Center if there's no, as you said, temper tantrum.
Sure. So
take us back to that when you decided, because there's comfortability being in a place, working for a place, getting a paycheck, mm-hmm. very comfortable, even though you're driving over an hour each way to work, which isn't, it's crazy. I mean, to know the drive from Fairview to where you were going is a hike both ways, to take a risk.
Yeah, it probably, when you go back and you look at, that signifying moment I think it was kind of a culmination of a couple different things. I always say the vision changed where we were currently at, and Jacob's well aware of this as well. But it's the dream come true aspect of it was more or less where, you know, I always entertained it, you know, in my head, but you don't dare say it out loud because, you know, then somebody's going to say, oh, isn't that cute?
Yeah, right.
You know, but, you know, I remember when it came about was when that facility's vision changed and it was a culmination and I want to preface anything we say with, if it was not for that facility, we wouldn't be here today. So it's very much so important and part of my story and Jacob's as well.
Sure.
That learned a lot while we were there and had the vision of just being able to facilitate it better.
And let me, to that point, I know a lot of people personally that we sent there.
Sure.
And transformed their lives.
Sure. Sure.
So this isn't a bash session by any means. It's and the reality of this epidemic is that there's not enough beds.
Right.
So
Right.
you know, there needs to be more, right? And
Yeah.
there was a fucking huge hole where we're at in Southern Illinois.
Absolutely.
For those that don't know where Swansea is, it's technically a suburb of St. Louis, but it's, you know, 15 to 20 minutes from downtown St. Louis, and that river is a big deal state politic wise. There just isn't. There's a huge hole here. So yeah, it's not a. We're here to. I'm glad you said that because it was and I still hear they're doing really good work. So
sure,
absolutely no.
Lifelong friends have been made, and some are still there. It just became where I think I think the individuals that also shared that belief, you know, the lifelong friendships and people I admire very much and respect and very much so love, those individuals I had a discussion with, you know, before this, it was, you know, before my departure of that facility. Now, those conversations were once again, they were a little, you know, there's a lot of dreaming taking place. And those individuals that, you know, out of respect, I think for me, would tell you they believed in it. But there was probably a little bit of like, oh, okay, well, you know, we support you, Eric, you know, we're with you. But, you know, there was probably some apprehension of like, could this really happen? So we're all blue collar individuals and we all know it takes a lot of things have to go right to open an operation like we have here.
Yeah.
And it's the individuals that make that operation successful. It's the individuals, it's the team. So those conversations started, you know, like you said, Chris, through a temper tantrum. You know, it was the belief that maybe we could do things a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more from the heart. Not so much business focus, with the understanding that the business, you have to be profitable, you have to make money in order to keep the doors open and continue spreading the message of hope.
And take care of your team. I mean, you can't,
correct.
You know, you have to be able to bring in money and have a responsibility to the business to take care of your staff, which is, you know, why we're here.
Sure.
And why so many people in 18 months have chosen Illinois Recovery Center to transform their lives.
Sure. And those conversations, Jakob was among the first internally where, you know, he was in my office and I said, well, let me tell you something. You know, this is what I'm thinking. And, you know, not knowing anything, not knowing how we would get the financial backing, not knowing where it would be, not knowing anything other than I'd like to start my own treatment center, you know, and part of my vocabulary, I eliminate the words I or me or my, because you can't do it independently. You have to have the team. So we very much so had a conversation, and Jakob was, I don't want to speak for him, but simply put was, let's ride. Let's go.
So you got my number.
Yeah. Call me when you're ready.
Well, 2 episodes ago, Jakob shared his story, and he brought up the fact that his clean date is 2 weeks after yours, and it's the longest 2 weeks of his life.
Yeah. Every time he celebrates, this year celebrated October 27th, 2016's mine, and every time I celebrate 2 weeks later is Jacob's, and I'm like, I remember when I had 8 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's important that I bring that up because it brings such a level of empathy when the top down has long-term recovery under their belts at a treatment center and knows what the pain feels like, knows what the fleeting thoughts feel like from clients that are scared and may want to leave,
Right.
and knows how to talk them off that ledge and convince them that they're in the best place and able to do it. Your story, Eric, is I was we grew up together. I used to ball the fuck out of you on the courts. Me and Vodka Steve
made a lot of money off Chris.
Showed you in Bickle one day what was up. But and then we started hitting it together, and we had that unfortunate incident when you were 13 and I was 18.
Yeah.
With the Fairview Heights Police Department.
Yeah, it was Swansea, asshole.
Oh yeah,
it was Swansea.
Where we're at,
where we're currently located.
Yeah,
I met the sergeant.
Talk about full circle.
Yeah, I met the sergeant that actually arrested me that night, and I brought up the story to him. Thankfully, I don't think he remembered, but I kind of left parts of the story out.
Chris, you got away from that?
I still blame his sister for that.
You didn't get arrested.
Oh, we all got tickets, and
yeah,
we had somebody's parents came and picked us up on the side of Hartman Lane.
Yeah.
We when we saw him, we were like, smiling, look at us now.
Yeah.
Full
circle is that not the truth?
It's wild, and fast forward through high school. I was in college, you were in high school, and you started hitting it hard, and got into some athletic injuries, and was it that got prescribed?
Yeah, painkillers,
and he liked them too much.
Yep. Simply put, it was an injury and some experimenting on the weekends, going out and drinking on the weekends, and
for the record, what I got you popped for was booze.
It was alcohol, absolutely. So I was 13. So
trying to get him laid.
I was
trying to get him.
I was done with milk. I wanted something more sufficient to quench my thirst. And
Zima.
Yeah, it was definitely
Zima.
Mike's Hard Lemonade, Jeff.
Starboard. What did they put in the Zima?
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But no, painkillers. Painkillers led the way, and that's introduction to as high school pills were popular, and that was once I experienced with that. Simply put, that was allowed me to function, but yet still mask the internal feelings I was feeling. And really, I look back, and obviously, I'm not a clinician.
No,
but
there it goes.
Yeah.
Clinically depressed.
Here comes his clinical. Anytime Eric says, I'm not a clinician, here comes his clinical diagnosis or opinion for sure. Which, I'm not trying to make his head bigger, but he's got about a 900 batting average on his clinical, maybe higher.
I usually err to Jakob on the clinical stuff, but needless to say, I got an opinion too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've been a part of some spirited conversations, very informative between Eric and Jakob and the clinical team, or clinical. My wife's a clinician, so they have some fun conversations. And Eric always says, "I don't need those fucking letters next to my name."
Yeah,
School of Hard Knocks, baby.
Yeah, I respect and out of respect, I try to stay in my lane. But needless to say, a lot of it is.
No, I'm kidding. But
lived experience.
Lived it. Lived it. Now, I can't. Listen, for clarity.
Right.
I know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Sure.
But it doesn't take much to, see if someone's battling anxiety or, some depression. Outside of that, I don't have anything more than an opinion.
Right.
And it's all in fun because when you had this team, this dream you were talking about, the top of your list were some of the best clinicians I've ever met.
Absolutely.
We had Kevin on earlier, and
Absolutely.
He's great.
And we like to chirp because they can sometimes outsmart us with their older school.
Sure.
But they wouldn't be here if Eric didn't have the utmost respect for their just knowledge and love for people that are going through it. So it takes a village, and I do like all the perspectives, and I think I don't think our clinical team would be here if they wanted to just kind of have this like overruling. Here it's a team decision.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's levels of empathy that you have, that Jakob has, that I have with a client that's in here that is an alcoholic or tapering or doing opioids, that not all clinicians are in recovery. So
Sure.
It's a good mix, but
I think it's a give and take too, and we see that daily play out,
Right.
Jacob.
Sure.
If it's, I think it's fair to say where, the clinicians that aren't in recovery, they practice humility and will tee it up for an individual that is in recovery to have those conversations with a client that's struggling in the heat of the moment, and kind of the breakthrough from one addict to another.
yeah.
So, and then vice versa. I'm not trying to sit in the room and diagnose Jacob with,
Where do we start?
dissociative identity disorder.
I couldn't spell that. There's times where Ashley will say something, I'm like, would you fucking quit saying that? She said something one time, and she goes, you and Eric are so hard on us clinicians. And she goes, sometimes I go, Ashley, Eric, they're his favorite clinician. She goes, he has cognitive dissonance. I go, see, when you use fucking words like that, that's why we fucking
If she would have
chirp
told me
you.
that face to face, I would say, thanks.
Yeah, right.
Sounds
that
like
in
a
a sentence?
positive characteristic.
When you talk like that, that's our problem. But the team here it's a gift for me, because it was a team that you formed and brought together. And don't get your feelings hurt here, Jakob, but Sarah was the number one on your list. She's our executive chef. I think I've said that before.
What is it? The quickest way to a man's heart,
Yeah.
a woman's heart as well, is through their stomach.
Right,
Yeah.
there you go.
Sarah's phenomenal, and she deserves all the credit.
Oh,
and since you brought that up, when composing this, all of our directors, they believed in something in the beginning. Once again, that was formulated on a napkin
Yeah.
and just a dream.
Didn't have a building.
Yeah, we didn't have a building.
Even that's a
we didn't.
story.
I might have had like $12 in my pocket, and the other one had a bunch of lint. And that's the beautiful thing is, once again, my sobriety day 8 years ago. If you would have told me this would play out this way, Jacob, 8 years ago, there's no way in hell I would have called you a liar. I would have said you have dissociative identity disorder. So that's the beautiful part. Sarah also, going back to her, she deserves her glory, because it's funny when you start feeling better, when you come in through the doors, your body just needs a bunch of nutrients,
Right.
minerals, and some intake, and then 72 hours later, you're like, yeah, I don't like tomatoes, and I don't like cheese, and I don't like, and it's like, come on, what are you doing? You've been living off cinnamon toast for the past year and a half. Like, now you don't like, honey glazed chicken breast?
Right.
Like,
You were fucking boosting Sour Patch Kids extra sour from the 7-Eleven.
My diet in active addiction consisted of a 64-ounce Pepsi, Swedish fish, about a half pound, and then a pound of Sour Patch Kids, literally. So cinnamon toast was dinner. Literally cinnamon toast. So my dad thought I was like injecting the sugar at one point in time. He's like, I just bought a 5-pound bag of sugar. What the hell are you doing with it? So that's what our diet consists of. Therefore, that's the importance of Sarah on making sure we're not only getting our weight up, but eating correctly too.
And the meal schedule here, it's incredible. Where I went, the fucking eggs tasted like radioactive nuclear. It was this horrible. And then there was some slop on the. I mean, God.
Oh man,
It was horrible.
Like prison food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Making prison nachos and,
One of our buddies is gonna hear this, but his facility where I attended, the food. Ooh,
better get to work. We'll send them this link.
Good thing we were allowed care packages, and my lovely wife made sure tuna and ramen noodles was a part of the care package for 56 days.
Nice.
It had to be bad if your care package in Step Up was tuna and ramen
That's
noodles.
the good
Yeah.
food coming in.
Oh shit!
That ought to give you an indicator.
Yeah, let's work on that up there in New Jersey.
That's right.
It's funny you say that. So you first went to Florida, and tried this,
Yep.
and had some success at. And try when I say try,
Sure.
tried. You got clean
Sure.
and had some success, but you always say something that's real important, and I think you say it often. We're a 30-day program, so every time there's a new group of clients come in, it's important for them to hear it because you said that it didn't work the first time because you tried it whose way.
You're my way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that goes with what Jakob, you were saying a couple weeks ago about people have done this. Kind of shut the fuck up and listen.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break.
Yep. And
And-
that's true. That's
yeah.
and Jacob. Me and Jacob talk about it all the time. Where, the way it worked was, I have large ears for a reason. So there's my indicator of shut your mouth, sit
Right.
there and listen. Talking as much as I did out there earned me a seat in here, and it's time to just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's something that I can, take in. It could, positively impact my life. Especially it's taken me a couple times, right? So
Sure.
with that, you finally get to the point where it's like, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do.
Right.
I'll do anything. Tell me what to do.
The pain finally
Yes.
which
Yeah.
you say a lot. The
Yeah.
pain has to be great enough.
Yep. And that's a motto I share often with the
Uh-huh.
clients, and when we have those positive conversations, that's what is said. The pain has to get great enough. So we can sit back and say, well, Jacob, you wrecked your car, you ended up in jail, you lost all your money, and this and that. But if the pain's not great enough for Jacob or for Eric, Chris, whoever to incentivize the change, we're not changing.
Last week we had Christina on, who you know well, and she was telling the story, and then she goes, there's more. We're like, this isn't rock bottom yet.
Right.
You just were kidnapped and trafficked, and you escaped with your life, and there's still a couple more months of getting to that.
She has a powerful story.
Yeah, we were pissed. We were laughing because you fuckers, you came in, you were here for a little bit, and then you had to run, and you guys were just bullshitting up a storm. And I wish the cameras were on. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to do this again. We'll have
Absolutely.
a roundtable, and because she speaks about this as passionate as all of us do. And you guys were telling some pretty funny stories, but and it's all we call content, I guess.
Yeah.
What happened in between Florida and New Jersey? You were doing sober living, you were working in treatment, you were flying, because everybody up here that we're pulling for you and love you. We're like, this is great, and then you say you tried it your way. What do you mean? What happened?
Yeah, so in Florida, I always share, I always wanted to be clean and sober. I always wanted to be clean and sober. And that sounds kind of simplified. It's like, well, yeah, naturally. But that's not always the case, right? So for some individuals, it's they don't. you know?
I would say I never wanted to be. I always wanted to drink. I wanted to be a drink. I wanted to be known as the guy that's going to have a drink.
Yeah.
Until the pain got great.
Yeah. So I say that because after I got out of treatment in Florida, I worked in this field, and I was in a hurry to grow up, essentially.
Right.
I wanted to, being on social media, you would see individuals, my friends were getting married, purchasing a house, buying a car, taking vacations, having children. And I wanted that. So working in treatment, I loved, one of the best moments in my life was, when I was granted the opportunity to answer the phone and spread the message of hope. It was overnight. It was a 16-hour shift, and it was, hey, help somebody save their life. Answer the phone when it rings. Put somebody in treatment, you know. And that was in South Florida. Essentially, though, I wanted to grow up so fast that I forgot where my feet were located.
Sure.
And
Take a little fall. You know?
yeah.
Nice.
So, needless to say, stumbled, I guess you'd say, and fumbled the opportunity. And I picked up a bottle. You know,
it was the alcohol, right?
Yeah, I was working at a call center answering telephones and thought that, you know, I stopped working a program. I was not vigilant with my recovery. And I went to the gas station, picked up a half pint Friday night and thought, like, you know, I'm going to just take the edge off.
You got it.
But it's only one time.
You got this.
Yeah. And I did successfully. I drank a half pint
Right.
and nothing happened, right? Still have my job Monday and still have my car and money and everything. Problem is if you fast forward 3 months later, it's a fifth of whiskey a day. I didn't have any money. My car was on its last leg. My now wife found a bottle on my top shelf of my closet in between, like, you know, you stack, you fold your clothes, put your, my jeans were on the shelf, and she's tidying up, and she must have moved my jeans, and the bottle fell down. It was a fifth of whiskey and hit her foot, almost broke her foot. You know, so when I got home, she was like, what is this? And instantly, like a classic alcoholic would do, was, why are you going through my shit?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you're to blame, not
it's
me.
your fault
Never
now.
mind there's an alcohol bottle or a fifth of whiskey in my jeans. It's your fault.
You don't trust me? You know?
Yeah. So stopped working the program, and I thought that I had the answers, and just as our literature says, self-knowledge availed us nothing. So good friend came over and was very apparent by my breath smelling like Listerine every time he sees me. You know, I'm a clean guy, but not that clean, you know. And I needed an opportunity, and he mentioned extending his grace to give me a chance, you know, to get back in, and I took advantage of it. Now, there's a lot of extracurriculars that are attached to that. You know, I also returned to heroin at that time as well, a couple weeks before admitting into his program.
Okay. So this is because I remember finding you in your bedroom. We were going to go to the baseball game, and you had about, I don't know, there was a half a dozen or a dozen airplane Fireball fucking bottles in your bedroom.
Yep.
And you were just crying. I'll never forget it. You were bawling, and I was like, I thought I was picking up sober Eric because I was a year or two out of rehab, and we were going to have a fun night at the baseball game, and we didn't go to Busch that night Stadium. We just drove over to my house in Webster, and I remember talking to you puking on the Poplar Street, and getting you home that night, and then I had to call your sister and say it's. And then she kind of filled me in. I think, you know, she knew. I didn't know. I thought, am I breaking this to her that Eric's back drinking and God knows what else because we're addicts.
Sure.
And she knew. I think she was pretty upset already. The bridge had kind of been burnt enough to where she's got fiery.
Yeah. Yeah, the family was
Conley
aware
thing,
at that
I think.
point in time just because of my emotional instability.
Sure.
You know, I remember calling my dad and, you know, just kind of the woe is me,
Sure.
you know, and him giving me an earful and rightfully so. But when you stop working a program and think you got this thing figured out, that's the first mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you better men than all of us have tried it many different ways.
Right.
And what do they say, Jacob? It's a simple program, but it's not easy.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but just surrendering and just conceding defeat. I can't. I'm a pickle now, no longer a cucumber. I can't indulge in any minor mood altering substance unless you consider caffeine's one of them. But
Don't take that from me.
Yeah.
but yeah, getting the opportunity and going up to New Jersey. And there was a real feeling when I went up there for this last time of being the last time. There was a real feeling of, if I don't, I'm using air quotes now, but if I don't figure this out, I'm going to die. I'm not going to have another opportunity.
And you wanted to live.
Yeah, and I wanted to live. Now, the beginning of my story, where my road to recovery started, is June 12, 2014. I went to treatment down to Florida, as you're aware of.
Interesting date.
Yeah, and that at that point in time, I did not want to live. You know? So, like you mentioned earlier, crashed my car into an embankment and tried to off myself because I couldn't live with it and I couldn't live without it. But
and that's heroin in a fucking nutshell.
Absolutely.
Jakob talked about that being, he just knew that was final, and thank God it wasn't for any of us, and you guys especially, you know, that wasn't final.
Sure.
And for those that are listening thinking there is this was the lowest of the low for you.
Absolutely.
On June 12th.
One of the worst feelings was when I woke up in the hospital and my family, man, my sisters are my best friends. I love them dearly. My dad's best friend, my role model, my icon, you know, and I'm a mama's boy through and through. But my mom,
she was gone.
Yeah, she already passed away by that time. But last conversation was, you know, you had your fun. It's time to grow up. Look out after your sisters and your dad. Now, I did not heed that advice. I went off the rails. But was to go back to when I was in the hospital, waking up and the family not being there. That's when the pain, that was the pivotal moment of, okay, all right. So I can't even off myself correctly. So what's out there? What can I do? And when that phone rang, the individual, Nick Boatman, when he called me and he asked a question, he said, "How are you, buddy?" And when he asked that question, that's all I needed. So I needed to tell somebody.
Got goosebumps.
'Cause I was screaming internally. I was screaming it internally, but externally I wasn't saying anything. So when the opportunity presented, I was willing to capitalize on that with the help of my sisters, Jennifer and Angie. You know, I was scared shitless. Was fearful I was going to lose my job. You know, I worked for Frito-Lay for a long time, so 15 to 26. But, you know, Nick said, "What do you mean? You're shooting heroin, brother? You're going to lose your job."
It's important. You know? I'm glad you're bringing this up because it's one of the top. Would you say top 3 things we hear when people are apprehensive
Absolutely.
about checking into treatment? It's got to be top 3. I'm wondering if it's number 1. Just by crowdsourcing. It's top 3 for sure.
Because most individuals say, "I got a job," and you want to be mindful, you know, not to hurt their feelings, because you can understand. We all have empathy. That's how we put food on the table. But yeah, you have a job today.
Yeah,
Right.
But if with what you're reporting, how you're feeling, what's taking place, your wife, your husband, your daughters, your son, your mother, father, whoever, you know, they're aware of what's taking place or have some inkling that you're struggling. Your employer does too.
Right. I was just going there.
Know,
yeah.
You may just be a damn good worker, and your employer's looking the other way for the current time.
And staffing for lots of places sucks.
Sure.
So
Sure.
It forces people in a position, but they're not fucking stupid.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So we hear that so often, and you share that story, which is a great quick conversation you and Nick had. And
Sure.
I can't leave my job.
Yeah, and when he said that to me, "You're shooting heroin, you're gonna lose your job," that made sense to me, and I sincerely mean that. It's like, yeah, it is. That was. You know, I rolled my ass out of bed every day and went to work because I needed to feed my addiction. That's what motivated me to go to work. I didn't call in or anything like that. I showed up and had to work because if I didn't have the finances, I wasn't getting what my body physically needed and what my mind, was obsessing about.
Yeah. Hey, so it wasn't about getting high anymore. It's about not getting fucking sick.
Correct.
We talked about that before. Like you get so dependent on this shit. It's not about getting high and having a fucking ball. It's and I'm not, pardon the pun, if you know, blow. having a great time. It's about not getting dope sick, which
trying to feel normal.
Yes.
That's the goal.
and it's a constant fucking rat race.
Yes.
So you've shared with me that I had Eric and I played golf at Glen Echo, which is by UMSL, and it's kind of in North City. And the first time he was taking his way out there, he's like, Chris, this is kind of triggering. Oh, he had to go through the places that he used to go to fucking buy twice a day from Fairview.
Yep.
Which is 30 minutes.
Yep. Every single day, and twice a day, one in the morning, one in the evening. And it's just a rat race we run. And even here's what's crazy: running an organization now is as exhausting as that may be. Doesn't hold.
Man,
it doesn't even compare to active addiction. I think about all the time and the energy spent into feeding your addiction. And
give
fucking
everything.
exhaustion.
Yeah. I work 60 hours plus a week, getting this thing off the ground. Jacob, that we would talk about this.
Remember when we were all painting walls and we were all like,
Remember we were painting walls,
All of you.
Yeah.
shut up, Jeff. I had a bad knee.
Yeah.
I heard it playing golf.
It's but it doesn't compare to what you do in active addiction.
So think about
exhausting.
that. Like if you check into to rehab and you start off in detox, like the first thing, you fucking take a deep breath. Like you're not doing the rat race anymore, and that people get to like breathe a second.
Yeah.
For 1 day, 2 days, 30 days, and not like that. It's because it's utter exhaustion, and it's usually years of this shit every fucking day. There's not a Saturday or Sunday where you just don't have to go get high.
No.
It's every fucking day.
Rain, snow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you just said it, Jacob, when it snows, now it becomes the problems are not like, it's snowing out there, you better stay in. No, you have to get out in it, and you're just hoping the block's cleared off so you can get what you need.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
It's a snow day from addiction.
And let's be honest, in the hood, they're not usually the first streets that are plowed.
Right.
So that's a real thing that no one thinks about unless you're in it.
Yeah.
And you're risking your life to, and as the years go by, you forget some of those things you did once upon a time, but you never forget the feeling of the, what you put your family through, what you went through. There's like a Cliff Note version of pinpoints on like, wow, I can't believe I did that and survived.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or I didn't kill somebody, and those are the things now that, you try to share to others. But when you're in active addiction, you don't think like that. I would imagine you can't retain that information. So even talking with a client who's struggling and, you share with them like, hey, you could die from this. I don't say that much during conversation.
I never use it, yeah.
And I'm taking an educated guess, Jacob, but it's because in my story, I wasn't afraid of dying.
Yeah, that's number 10 on our list of concerns.
Sure. Death was death was welcomed.
Right.
And that's
it's the end game. It's the only way to get, if you don't get clean,
sure.
That's the destination. And that, like, the thought of that exhaustion of every day, rain or snow or shine,
holidays, everything.
Yep.
Christmas morning, it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
And that's where, we see, you say it here, you brought up holidays. We see a surge of clients checking in after Thanksgiving or after Christmas, because it's when families get together, and you got cousin Joey, like you say, Eric, all the time, fucking falling face first into the mashed potatoes.
Yep.
And it's a blessing, but it's every day, every day.
Yeah, the holidays are a big. Well, you see people come in through the holidays for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
The family gets around and it's like, hey, Jeff, you're not acting like the Jeff I used to know, or Chris, something seems off. And nowadays with
my family would just ignore it.
Yeah.
We don't want any confrontation.
You got some stuff to work out there, Jeff.
Yeah, maybe.
and you say that,
Where's
Jeff,
Kevin?
Where's
our family therapist when you need it?
Yeah.
You say that with, and some families do.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, that's common as well. We'll wait till the next holiday. We'll see how Jeff looks. And that's what prolongs this, where, a lot of times we see it in the field where the families sometimes, and this may offend some people, but the families are just as sick as the individual struggling.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
because of what they've been through and countless other reasons.
It's usually the cousin or aunt that you see once a year on the holidays that is like, this is not right.
Right.
The family that we've lived with, they're so far in the forest to see the trees. They're like, oh, this is ignored every day. And Aunt Pat is like, this is fucked up. Yeah. This is not right. He's fell asleep in the mashed potatoes during the prayer.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Uh-huh.
You're not just tired.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
So you went to New Jersey, and you say this often because this is important for our mission here, and it's a double-edged sword a little bit. We'll talk about that. But you said when in New Jersey you were a product of a scholarship.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was scholarships, as we know, tend to be a tougher crowd. Mm-hmm. It just seems that way, whether that's God's will or the lack of gratitude us alcoholics, us addicts have. But I was no different. When I checked into the program, I wanted to be clean and sober. But at the same time, while I was in treatment, my sobriety date should be October 12th, 2016. But I used while I was in treatment. So, and while that was a terrible decision.
How do you do that? How do you use when you're in treatment?
Let's not give anybody any ideas.
Yeah, I don't want to glorify it, but I was.
There's ways.
Yes,
all right.
I was in New Jersey. Right, I'll give you
Okay.
the short synopsis of it.
Jakob,
I was
executive director to my ass.
Yeah. we have to keep this away from the clients.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was an individual in there that was local, right?
Gotcha.
And I had a couple bucks in my what I brought in, and needless to say, you can use your imagination what happens next.
I got fucking strip searched by a guy named Frank.
You asked for it.
I know. Make sure you check everywhere.
Yeah.
Frank didn't even work there.
Yeah. But
Wait a second. I just got triggered.
but I was going to once.
And you were a scholarship.
I was a
because
scholarship.
it's important.
So I say that though, when I was offered that scholarship, though, took advantage of it, went up to New Jersey, and got high in treatment, right? But the next thing, the best part about that situation, if there is one, was what happened next. And I was brought before, it was a large program, 100+ individuals in that program. And upstairs was like drug court. And I forgot what they called the program, but essentially it was drug court. Downstairs was, private insurance and such forth. But ownership and a couple friends and, some biker gear showed up along with all staff and all the clients, and they were all brought downstairs, and I stand before them all, and I was absolutely publicly shamed, and it allowed me to understand what humility felt like, and it was an important part of my story because, once again, keep in mind, I wanted to be clean and sober. I just didn't know how.
Right.
I didn't know how. I didn't have the tools or resources, or wasn't, participating in a practical application of any resources I did have or information. Remember, before I went here, I worked in the field answering phone calls, but any information or knowledge I had was what availed me nothing.
The tools you had were God-given, and they're on. You have one big one on this side of your head, and another big one on that side of your head. You weren't fucking using them. You weren't listening.
Correct.
And,
so
all the tools you learn in all this, if you don't do them, they do nothing.
Yeah.
Knowledge is not key to this. It's all the action.
yeah.
We good, Jeff? You're over your finger fucking these telephones or whatever, the cameras.
Because he gave me the shitty phone.
We're trying something new here, boys and girls. But so when I got they say I got a big heart, generous, blah, blah, blah. They say it. I don't say it by myself. I get it from my mother, who Eric knows well and wants us to scholarship every fucking person on the planet, right? And we wish we could, but
Absolutely.
it's not like people think it's about money. It's not necessarily about money. It's about, we have X amount of beds. What I've learned, a crash course since being kind of on this side of learning best practices for a treatment center. You have a community of people that you have to be very concerned about, the collective group. I've learned this from you guys. This is a part of the blowing conversation, and I'll get back to making fun in a minute. But your heart wants everybody. Come out here. We got a place. Come here. We won't charge you. You come stay for free. Be a scholarship. And I've learned quickly that if a client doesn't want to get clean and sober, it's not going to happen. And if the client doesn't have skin in the game, it's less likely to happen. Those are my words. And what I've learned is because we set out to scholarship 10% of our beds.
Sure.
And
Yep.
I think, what are we, well over 20?
We're at 20%.
Yeah.
So we did 137 scholarships last year.
So before anybody says we don't scholarship, we fucking scholarship. And
I think too with scholarships, like I said earlier, is it tends to be a tougher crowd, a tougher demographic, and I think it's because it's the disease, right? So we're not practicing gratitude out in active addiction, and it's our disease. So when we come in there, we're not understanding the position that we're in, the fortunate set of, the opportunity at hand,
right.
Where there's people literally dying to get into a program, where they don't, they're experiencing a financial hardship. If I needed $20,000 to get into a program, which is the cheaper end of treatment now, I wouldn't have been able to get into treatment.
Right.
My family didn't have that either. The cost of a funeral, often said in comparison to getting help, is more expensive than that. So, but coming in on a scholarship, it's our disease that doesn't allow us to understand how grateful. Right. You can't tell somebody you should feel. Do you feel how much gratitude that you should have? No, it's got to come within the individual. And at the end of the day, we scholarship individuals because it's the right thing to do, and there's some people that just can't get the help, and they're deserving of it.
Amen.
Our pro forma, our business plan was designed around 10%. We did 20% last year, and there's no regrets.
No.
Hopefully, we can continue to make enough money to keep the lights on, and then go up to 30%.
Sure.
So it's
God bless the staff in that case, because what people don't understand, and family members that don't understand, they all want their loved one to get treatment, and they want it. How can we make it the most affordable as possible? We're doing that, but the first part has to come. Your loved one has to want it more than you.
Sure.
More than anybody. The pain has to get great enough, and if they're in here on a scholarship, they're the most likely to AMA. And they explain that. That's because this is not a prison. You can be here and you can fucking walk right out the door. There's nobody stopping you.
Jacob, you want to speak on that?
Spend a lot of
why
time.
they do?
Well, I mean, like scholarship,
it's just
they don't have skin in the game. So leaving,
right.
If you're in here and you have private insurance, your insurance covered, they're going to stick you with the bill if you leave against medical advice. Same thing with the hospital. You're not a prisoner in a hospital, right? You can get up and get off the fucking operating table and get out of there if you want. But they're going to say, well, we're not going to cover this fucking leg we just sawed off. You're going to be paying for it. But
it's just it's how Eric was kind of saying. It's just you're in your disease. You don't.
Sure.
It's very rare for you to think of what comes after this, and without skin in the game, sometimes you don't have to get that front part of
sure.
Well, I paid for this, might as well stick it out or whatever it is. But when somebody AMA is I've seen people, I'm walking 50 miles to go home, just leaving. That's the disease. You don't think of what's after, and that's kind of where stopping them has to come in. You want to play that tape out.
And putting $20.
Right.
Yeah,
think
about that.
That's the answer I was looking for, you asshole.
Think about that.
Could have done a better job.
$20 betting. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in your recovery. You're betting on yourself. So the $20 when you're in active addiction, I don't know about you guys, fellas, but $20 was a lot of money.
Right.
So $20.
I could get 2 handles of Rich and Rare for $20.
There you go. So it's when an individual is willing to invest in themselves, and it's the last couple bucks they have in their pocket, that gives you. There's your barometer on what they're willing to do for their recovery.
Right. Bingo.
Because they got $20 and they're willing to give you. They're giving you everything.
Everything.
You know
That's 100% of their shit.
Right.
Yeah. So it is important, I guess, to say that too. Like when we're talking about skin in the game, we're not talking $20,000.
Right.
You know?
No,
Right.
never. I mean,
Right.
I've heard you both say this to a client. How much are you fucking using out there banging dope a day? And the person says X amount. I'm like, all right,
Absolutely.
bingo.
Yeah.
There's your
Yeah.
payment plan.
Give your dope money for the day. We'll give you treatment.
Yeah,
You know.
because you don't want to, in our mind, the manipulation techniques and stuff that we do in active addiction, those are all, I mean, in my opinion, once again, I'm not a clinician.
Here it comes.
But I think those are survival skills.
No, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, Chris, you're providing this opportunity for me to get help. Thank you. I have no money. Right. So in case this doesn't work out, I need that $20 for tomorrow morning, or better yet, 8 hours from now,
Right.
when
Yeah.
I start feeling sick. So we're doing that, but when someone is, we're doing that in active addiction to try to, as a form of a survival skill to prepare for what if.
Yeah.
But when you are like, I'm all in, Jakob, thank you for the opportunity. I am all in. I have $100 in my pocket. I'm willing to bet on myself. I'm going to come in. That act alone is in a way an act of humility.
Surrender.
Surrender. There you go. Great word.
Willingness,
so,
yeah.
willingness to come in and put in work, and wait for it, put my money where my mouth is.
There you go.
So it goes a long way. And then scholarship and individuals here, cost of medical health insurance is outrageous, let alone there's still a deductible and a max out of pocket to satisfy.
Yeah.
And, we try to work with individuals when they're coming in here as well in that regard. So set up a nominal payment plan. So essentially that's one of the things we wanted to do at IRC that other treatment centers weren't doing. And I hate to say but that's something I thought we could do better.
Sure.
Is the financial aspect.
Right. Not make financials a burden when you leave treatment.
Correct.
Right. 'Cause that's what
Yeah.
most treatment centers you go to, and you leave in debt now.
Yes.
And then financial
Reasons to
struggles are
fucking-
one big reason we get high.
Reason
and
to
avoid,
self-medicate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So leaving the first private facility I went to a private facility down in Florida in 2014. I walked out of there and had a $214,000 bill.
The fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
So
what are you gonna do with that?
And I was working for that treatment
Roll it up
center.
and smoke it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
So when they handed me that, I was at work, and an individual that I will remain anonymous handed me that and said, "Hey, E, here's your invoice." Handed it to me, and I scrolled to the back of the last page, and I should say pages plural.
Yeah.
And when I got there, it was $214,000.
They line item that motherfucker.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's some of the stuff in this field that IRC doesn't participate in, right? So here's your insurance, that's your insurance, and we're going to honor that. So we're going to do it this way, and then we're going to work with you financially, as much as we can to remove the finances from being, just as Jakob said, a barrier for someone getting help.
In full disclosure, if you would have said, I want you to be a part of this, period, I would have said yes.
Sure.
When this is not how when we talk about this shit, and you started going to what is going to make us different. I'm like, you had me at hello, motherfucker. But yeah, sign me up, man. Like, this is what I'm talking about. And I hope my mother's listening, Kathy Pondoff, that this section is dedicated to her on why we can't scholarship. Every patient, she's an RN, every patient she encounters it has a addiction, because 99% of them don't want treatment yet.
Sure.
They might, and they might come and they might say, "Here's my last $20 bill. Please help me.
Sure.
Please help me help myself." And then he will talk to you. But she's already got a fucking check mark on her whiteboard in her office. She thinks that I'm coming here. But, well, I'll let you deal with her.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's always important for me to talk, because people, when you talk to families, especially. And I know how desperate they are for their loved one to get help. I know it. I can imagine as a parent. This is not a financial heartless conversation we're having with you. We're having a conversation with you. How do we make your loved one feel the pain great enough to where they will come and commit and invest whatever their last dollar to this, so they come in and have some self fucking worth that I gave my last $20 bill I fucking put into this, and that alone can change someone's trajectory here. And when you go to places that there's people that don't want to be there, if they're there, if they go to treatment because they were strong-armed by a loved one or they're court-ordered, it can, one or two of those clients with that don't want to be there can fuck up the entire culture in a treatment center. I've noticed we were highly based on group education, right, and group learning, and it doesn't take many bad attitudes to fuck the whole. But there's a with the bad apple spoils the bunch, something like that. It happens, and it's frequent. So if you have a bunch of people here on a free ride that don't give a fuck, it's gonna Susie that needs to, if she doesn't get clean, is gonna lose her kids. She's desperate, begging for treatment, is gonna be in that group, and it's gonna get soured for her. So there's a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with money.
Well, on the other end of the spectrum too is what you just said that's another thing that we thought we could do more efficiently at IRC is have the real conversation with the clients.
Right.
You know, I know I personally understand or have empathy for the individual that is willing to say the only reason I'm here is for this external reason. You know, there's not much of an internal reason. Now, you can look at it one of two ways. Okay, they shouldn't be there. Let divine intervention take place. Give it some time.
Sure.
You know, or that is the second part is let divine intervention. Maybe as time goes, the lights will come on, the fog will lift, and that outlook may change, and oftentimes it does.
Right. Sure.
And going back to New Jersey, that's when it changed for me.
Yeah.
Is when I was humiliated and then left to my own, reporting back to my own room. I woke up the next morning and was like, oh, my God, I can't believe I did that. You know, I was just ill-equipped to say no, and then it manifested into what had happened. And then the next day woke up and I just, excuse my language, I shut the fuck up. I shut up, and then
that resonates with so much. It was what I did night one, because my humiliation was just scrubs that I got strip searched by Frank, who didn't work there apparently, and then I got put in scrubs. The hospital scrubs are too small, and that was my moment to do exactly that.
Right. And then all the other stuff, is taking place simultaneously. I told my oldest sister, Angie, I was on the phone with her while I shit myself in the airport going to the New Jersey, right? Said, don't write me off. Don't write me off.
You said this to your sister?
Yeah, I said it to her on the phone, and I was in the airport, and man, she was spitting nails. So, but I said, don't write me off.
She
both.
She's quicker to spit nails than the other sister.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I mean, in this case, ouch.
Yeah.
If she was the one.
But I knew at the end of the day, both my sisters will go through anything for me.
100%.
They were right there. It's just, me and Jennifer being why IRC is here is an instrumental part. That's why it has the flair it has.
The hard-ass sister, we call her.
Yes.
Is,
Jennifer,
part of the team here at IRC. And big reason we're here. Yeah, for sure.
But both
and
of
big
them,
reason you're here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just know that the other one's slower to the draw. If she was spitting nails at you, that
right.
Be a different impact for sure.
It's I knew they were supportive. They just had enough, and they had to back up and be supportive from afar.
And you tell,
simply put.
I mean, a lot of families that.
Absolutely.
It's fucking hard.
So,
I mean, you're talking about Jennifer. I mean, there's countless hours screaming and crying on the phone that I heard because we were both trying to help you out of love, and yeah, she loves you fiercely.
Absolutely.
And, always will. And that and what you guys went through with your mother was horrible. And I don't want to put you on a couch here and have you go back to like your trauma story and where the self-medicating came
Sure.
from, but we can probably deduce a little bit of that and why those pills maybe tasted so fucking good for a little bit when your mom was sick for
That's
formative years of your life, man.
That's where my addiction really manifested. Was I found something that helped me cope. It just helped all too well. I crossed that imaginary line to where, once again, became physically dependent, mentally obsessed. But I found something that could help me, still get out of bed and maintain, I guess, the act of not being upset or depressed that my mother was passing away of cancer. And everybody handles it differently. That was the way that I found that helped me handle it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's what was in store for me, and it does, there's the debate on whether it was a choice or not. Yeah, I made the choice to pick up that first painkiller. But after I did that, I no longer had a choice,
Right.
That's where the disease aspect takes place. And people debate about that, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But with that regard, the painkillers, once again, I share that, is they allowed me to still go through the daily functions, and once again, still get up and go to school and go to work and such forth when I was in college, and
Suppressing that pain.
and somewhere along the line, I crossed that imaginary line, and then it was I had to use in order to get through the day.
And it became, you said, a business decision why you started.
Sure.
Went from
It
pills.
started out with pills and graduated to heroin. So I was taking my mother's pills when she was sick, and when she passed away, unfortunately, I remember having that thought at her funeral, where my supply will no longer be there. And you talk about the stuff you regret. I regret having that thought. That's the unfortunate thing, is at my mother's funeral, I have a thought like that. That doesn't feel well even today, 8+ years later, is like, oh man, but I'm fortunate enough to know that that's the disease. That's not who I am or my character. That's the disease.
Her thumbprint is all over this place, man.
Oh, absolutely.
And our logo.
Absolutely.
She's everywhere here.
Absolutely. And once again, the family, I believe today everything happens for a reason, and the family dynamic as well with Jennifer and Angie and my father, they put them through hell, but I wouldn't be here today without them, and that's I'd look back and I wouldn't change anything.
Sure.
But I'm a little apprehensive to say that, because, there's situations where it's like, oh man, but
Fucking clocked me at Big Daddy's that one night. You could have,
yeah.
I'd like that one back.
yeah. You broke my necklace.
I don't even remember that. I paid for that. I don't even remember that fucking night. That was too much Rumpelmans and pills and
I think that was the first night I took. I went to the doctor that day, and she put me on Lexapro. I don't think it worked.
Or maybe it did, because I'm still sitting here talking.
That's a good perspective.
Right. You were swinging a little weak that night. Thank you, God. So it was important to talk about the scholarship aspect, because it's all about the dream here, that we want to do things differently and help as many people as we possibly can, and that's something that has been in the DNA of, since the temper tantrum you talk about, and doing things differently. When we and you mentioned earlier that you've seen people that may not want to be here, but the spark come, and that is to that humiliation that you got in New Jersey. I don't know if humiliation is the word I'd use when I've seen you have to have a closed door one-on-one with a client that's really struggling and wanting to know if they should leave. But it's a talk from the heart, from a guy that's been talking about everything's happened for a reason, been through this same shit both of you have had those heart to hearts, and and I think there's some, I don't know, it's a little baller, a little, you know, it's not a prison, but when that door shuts, there's gonna be a real life fucking conversation coming.
That's what it is. Is you know?
But it's coming from a place of fucking.
It's all
You've
love.
been there.
It's all love.
Trust me.
It's all love. It's
And there's been a couple hard-headed folks that needed that. I needed it from. I mean, I always played hockey my whole life, and I played better for the coach that was firing pucks in my head, tough love in my ass.
Sure.
Not coddling me.
Sure.
And that if that's what it takes here, Eric he'll shut the door, roll his sleeves up a little bit.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jacob.
So that's one thing we make. Like from my experience with treatment, like we are probably the most transparent.
Bingo.
And we will tell you like it is. We're not going to sugarcoat when it comes to this disease. This disease is fatal, right? The ultimate goal of this disease, you said earlier, Chris, is to kill us. So I'm not going to sugarcoat what's happening to us, right? Like we're sick.
Absolutely.
And we need to understand that we're sick, and we need to hear that. Because as soon as I tell you that you're not sick, you're gone, and you're going to die. And
that's the excuse you needed.
Yeah, like you have to treat this like if that person. I have to treat it. I'll use my I statements here. Ashley will like that, but if somebody's trying to walk out these doors and they're not ready, like that's life and death to me. Like I have to do what I can. I can't save them all, but I need to be able to go home and say I did everything I could to try to save this person's life.
Sure.
If I don't feel that way, I have to do that.
So Jacob, that's a powerful statement because at the end of the day, I usually, and I know Jacob does as well, when we close that door and have that real conversation, and that real conversation is, you know, it's a race to be. There's a couple different approaches, right? Sometimes it's a leather glove, sometimes it's a felt glove,
right?
Sometimes it's a race to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
here,
you know.
And here you go, tough guy. Here, I'm gonna be vulnerable with you. You know, and then those conversations end in tears, and then there's a little bit more pep in the step when we open the door back up and get to getting.
Sure.
Other times it's no, we're not gonna do that. You picked the wrong place, and you know, I'm gonna tell you how it is, and you're gonna listen. You called us.
Right.
We answered the phone.
Right.
And I go home at night and I go to sleep with my own conscience. So when I lay my head down at night, I want to make sure that if God forbid I, have an expedited ticket to the big guy upstairs,
Sure.
I can stand before him and say, Lord, I tried to tell Jacob he's an asshole.
Didn't shortcut.
For
his sake.
For his sake.
Didn't do me no good.
Because that goes back to what I experienced in New Jersey. Somebody needed to say, listen, asshole, what you did is not okay.
Right.
You need to tighten up.
Yeah, there it is. Man, wait a second. We're an hour. How long? Hour and 11 minutes in. It's the first time he used it.
and I needed that. And then when I heard that, it was okay. I'm a sports guy, so now it became almost like a competitive thing.
Yeah, like I was saying, you need a fucking rally the troop, Joe Sergeant type, and it's not a military camp here. But there's been plenty of times where if I do that church group on Saturday nights, it's from 6 to 7, and I'm getting ready to leave and walking out my car, and in pulls the 1994 Jeep Cherokee that Eric's driving, and out in his sweatpants and cut off shirt. I'm like, oh fuck, somebody's about to get talked to. But it's here to say, listen, nobody's keeping you here.
Right.
You're welcome to leave.
Yep.
Or you can stay and change the trajectory of your life, and you have your conversation that is I mean, it's pretty. I've heard it different ways, but it's from the heart, and it's so fucking effective. And you have 2 rules here at IRC, and that's usually part of that conversation.
Yeah.
What are they?
Don't disrespect my staff. Don't break my shit. That's and it's because of going to those 2 rules, right? The team every single morning rolls out of bed just as everybody else does, puts their pants on one leg at a time, rain, sleet, or snow, and they come in and they still have stuff taking place at home.
Sure.
They could be going through a divorce. They could be fighting to get custody of their children back. They could be, just hearing the night before that their mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife is diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Kids battling, like our boy Nathaniel shared with his son. He's sick,
So they're rolling out of bed to come in here and be of service to the community we serve, right? They don't need somebody being an asshole, trampling on them and taking advantage of their kindness. So I assume that role was, as well as Jakob, of making sure that they get their respect.
Right.
It is not tolerated. Now, with that being said, there's moments, and that's part of our disease, where we were an asshole.
Sure.
And we're unaware of it. Most of the time, we are aware of it.
Right.
They just need the expedited ticket to make their amends.
What are you going to do now?
You're right.
There's a difference between going through the disease, having having a bad day, than being an asshole. I think.
Absolutely.
And if there is a confusion of which one's which, that's when Eric pulls up an old Betsy. He calls his 94, his mom's Jeep Cherokee he still drives, and has the conversation. And I will tell you, I don't know the numbers, but 99.9% of the time, that person stays probably longer than they ever thought they would.
Sure. There's a bond that's developed at that point in time because it's
you get on their level.
Absolutely. Share a little bit of our story. Jakob does as well, and all of our staff. Over 80% of us are in recovery.
Sure.
And the ones that are not in recovery, they have a perspective that we are unaware of. We have never felt, and it's a powerful perspective.
Yeah.
They might be the mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife of an active addict or an individual in recovery. So we all play our parts, but we like Jakob said, we practice the transparency.
Right.
They're not a number. Every single employee knows every single client's name. Every single one. Now, when you leave and you're gone 90 days and you come back and now you look like a completely different person, that's the gift of sobriety, right? That might be a little bit, but while you're here, everybody knows who you are. And that's the idea of you inherit a family, and that's, once again, that's part of the dream that was IRC. Right. And that's the part that the team facilitated, the team.
Sure.
So our from our leadership down, it's we play that role, and it's vice versa.
Yeah.
When clients want to say, "Well, you just own a treatment center for the money." Well, what's parked out front?
Right. We, it's funny, the word transparency and how important that is here. My career has been in sales and business development for, computer material, electronic materials, backup battery system. It's a long story, but it's been in sales, right? And not as much as the restaurant industry, but we the customer is almost always right in a sales. It's 101 shit for a salesman.
Not here,
One of
baby.
my hardest fucking adjustments here is if I'm always trying to get people help. If they call, I want to sit them, and we got the team, and it took it was an adjustment period to realize that, listen, like Eric said, you called us. We're here. We're gonna provide you with every resource you need to change your life, to save your life. But you're gonna treat my team with respect. You're not gonna break the shit here, and you're gonna behave. There's not gonna be any bullshit, because it fucks the whole group up and makes things now, and it tells us whether you want to be here or not. And that does, listen, it's hard days here. We get that.
Sure.
We have a full nursing staff, and we're gonna fill your bellies with good food, but you're gonna do some work. You got to. Otherwise, what the fuck? It's a waste of time.
Right. We're not saying that clients have to be perfect coming in, but you have you have to strive to be better.
Sure.
That's what we want to say. Everybody's gonna have a fucked up day or whatever. A bad day, right? You're going through it's treatment.
Absolutely.
It's not perfect time to come in, but what are you gonna do to get better then from this? Like that's what, once we hear that, like that makes the whole difference, right? We want to.
Sure.
Can I ask you guys a question? That both of you. This is, it's not like your hands on a Bible here, but do you get a pretty good gauge when somebody checks in after a couple days if if they're going to make it or not?
No, never. Not for.
Really?
I'm probably wrong on that every single time.
Well, that's good.
Right.
Though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like that's what we were talking about earlier, like the willingness and not
Sure.
willingness. Like one of my favorite sayings in NA at least is "stick around till the miracle happens."
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
And I'm like I will die on this sword of every client that walks in these doors will succeed.
Okay.
100% if they do what they're taught and need to do. Right. So I don't ever look at any client coming in as somebody that's going to use.
Okay.
Right. Because if I start planning for somebody using,
Well, sure. Yeah.
what am I
that's a
doing?
good point.
You know,
Right.
we only
it-
teach success here.
And a popular question is what's your success rate? As a treatment center, what's your success rate?
Right.
Yeah. How the fuck do you answer that? That's
Simple. It's 100%. As long as you're willing to put in the work, you are going to walk out of these doors with all the tools and resources you need to obtain long-term sobriety. But that percentage, that's up to you. You know, so it can be 100%. And that's not being a smart ass
No.
delivering that. That's authentic.
it's fucking real. It's
You know,
transparent.
It's my failures and my recovery, and failure's a strong word, but my, when I returned to use, when I relapsed, was because I stopped practicing, those principles, when I stopped using
Right.
those resources that I was taught. So when I took the easier way, it never worked, and that's just simply put, it never worked.
As soon as I started doing Jacob's ideas, that's where
Yeah.
it fucked up.
No, that's great. That's why. Yeah, that's good. I guess the question maybe should be rephrased is can you tell who's going to have a little bit harder start by the bad attitude they have?
Yeah, when they come in, you can see, but usually you got to give them the first 24 hours.
Yeah, sure.
Right,
First
'cause
72.
you come in, and oftentimes we're banged up. Once again,
Yeah.
that's part of the benefit of being a private facility is, you don't have to come in active withdrawals, that we're not a hospital. Most of the time that's a requirement is your cows or CWAs got to be elevated or a certain parameter before you can admit.
For the Jeffs.
Yeah.
Explain that. Explain that.
Jacob?
Without
So cows and CWAS is just like the medical scaling of withdrawal symptoms.
well, so I think people got that, but if you say that you got to be fucking sick to get what, admitted into a hospital?
Well, yeah, to get to like a hospital treatment, yeah.
What if you're high? They won't take
Hospitals
you?
can't take you. I don't know. Don't ask me why. I'm not. I work
So
on
that's
this side, but-
I think that's important for people to know because you said what makes us we're different. We're a private facility. We can
Sure.
take you.
So I don't know the specific reason. I know when you are under the influence, I think from I got to be honest, from a business owner perspective, the liability aspect of things, is present. So if you're high or under the influence and you're coming in, there's really not much that can be done at that point in time other than kind of a waiting game
Right.
for you to not be high or drunk, and then medication can be administered and conversations can take
So
place.
the first day you're kind of clogging up.
And
a
you're talking
bed
about from a
in their
hospital
system.
standpoint.
From a
Yeah,
hospital
hospital,
standpoint.
Got it. So I
Private.
come in and I got 2 bottles of fucking Jack Daniels in me wanting to fight everybody. They're like, get him the fuck out of here
Right.
until get him some coffee and whatever
Right.
to break codes. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
what you're saying.
It's like, don't come in
You're
here
off
trying
the
to fight me.
airplane.
Well, yeah, here because Eric's waiting for that fucking day. Come in. But if I come in here, 2 bottles of Jack in,
You go through the process. It's an expedited admission process, and then you're shown to your room, and then
and if you act up,
you're monitored.
Eric shows up in Old Betsy.
A lot of times, yeah. I provide, I expedite the meeting to that moment of clarity.
I love it. God, you can church it up. Man, if these microphones weren't hot.
Right. Yeah.
I think before we started, you go, are these on yet? Jeff's like, I got that. I'm saving that on
Yeah,
the day I get.
The
I
mics
need
were
it.
not on.
Yeah.
Maybe the cameras.
I'm waiting for Jeff to text me after tonight's meeting and say, like,
I got you, boy.
yeah. So, but it's nobody comes into treatment, typically speaking, that hasn't. Well, let me rephrase that. When you come into treatment and you're hurting and you're not under the influence, you are, to go back to your original question, can you tell who's going to make it or not? The individual that is hurting, excruciating, right? They're going through post-acute withdrawals, and it's there, it's alive. That the willingness is then present for obvious reasons, right? It's help me. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I'd rather die than feel like this. Mm-hmm. The scary part is then, Jacob will use yours 72 hours later when the medication starts to present its benefits is when the individual says, "Yep, I feel better now. Can I get my belongings?"
Right.
That is, it's so dangerous. That's where my heart aches. Everybody that works in treatment, that's when they're like, "Oh no, this person's going to go out there and kill themselves." They think they recovered and they did this. They don't realize that the medication now is stabilizing, and they got some food in their belly and all the different things that are taking place. A whole lot of higher power too, divine intervention, right? There's that word again. All of those things are taking place, and their disease is like, hey, you did this, you feel better. See,
that's something I can resonate with as somebody who has mental health struggles. Is that the first time I ever did, I was on Lexapro, and I'm like, oh fuck, I feel better now. And so I'm like, and I kind of don't feel as much as I used to. So I just cold turkey quit Lexapro.
Right.
And I was like, literally, like I was suicidal.
Yeah, you can't do that shit.
No.
So Jeff,
Very
that's
similar.
that's a great example, because I know many individuals that take SSRIs or antidepressants in my life that all of a sudden they wake up and they're like, you know what, I feel okay. I don't need them.
Yeah.
And then they don't take them for a couple days, and
the medicine's working.
And see,
exactly.
Yeah. See, I didn't take them for a couple days, and everything's still okay until it's not okay.
Right.
Boy, if I don't take
later.
a Paxil, one day I get the fucking jolts, and like internally I'm getting shocked from the inside out.
Yeah.
Paxil's going to subpoena you now for saying that, so I'm going to have to edit that out, Jeff.
People there, yeah.
Fuckers. But yeah, that's a great point, because those medicine psychotropics are you got to taper off of those.
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Sure.
But kind of going back to like what Eric's saying too, and what you're asking is like, it's those clients when they hit that day 3. I always say there's a pattern. It's always day 3, like between 9 and 11, and 17 and 20. Those are the 3 big components in treatment where like your disease takes a big hit at you. I feel better now. I'm ready to go. I learned everything I can here. I can't get nothing else out of this. There's always the same excuses. We're pretty not unique that way where we think we are.
Yeah.
But those clients that hit that, I call it the crossroads, right? Do I leave treatment, listen to what my brain's saying, or do I listen to these people, not go my own way, and do a suggestion? The people that make that right choice, those are always the ones that make it. Mm-hmm. Like they just learned what recovery was. We're like everything in my brain, which we have to remember is a sick brain in this moment, is saying, do this, but I'm going to do what these other people are suggesting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's all recovery is. Recovery is, I'm not running my ship anymore. How do I take the guidance of somebody else that's not me, call it a higher power, call it just experts, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But that is what you have to learn in recovery. When people learn that, that's that miracle.
And that's the part of when you get to the point, I know nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
I know nothing. Tell me what to do. Like Jacob said, that you're fighting your disease. Your disease wants you to leave. Your disease wants you to go get high. Your disease wants those things, and you're fighting the disease. You're going against the grain by taking this individual's recommendation of staying and what could potentially happen.
It's liberating to shut the fuck up and like.
Sure.
Why do I got to do all the work? These guys have done it for me. That's easier. Shit.
And our brains will use. I always tell because I tell clients those day cycles, like be prepared for these days.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Did you sit down and because that is really I can imagine helpful to hear. And then when you're in it.
And the other thing they have to understand, like our brain will use good intentions to get us out the door. Mm-hmm. Nobody that's AMAing or like going through that thing is like, I'm leaving to get high. They don't believe they are. That's the thing. Right. It's not like they're lying to us saying they're not. They 100% believe I'm leaving and I'm good. It's just a form of denial that they're in. And that's like the hardest part because they always have, I'm going to put this in quotations, good excuses, right? I got to go take care of my family. I got X, Y, Z. That it's like hard to say, well, no, you don't need to go take care of your kids, but it's the truth. That's what they have to hear. You know?
Going, and Jacob mentioning that is when someone's in that flight response, they believe what they're saying, where, right. I don't want to drink. I don't want to use anymore. And oftentimes through conversation, I'll share, or Jacob, most do say, well, Chris, I believe that you believe that.
Right.
But if you stop and you're willing to just be open-minded and hear through dialogue, through conversation, and you hear from a fellow addict or alcoholic that, you want to hurry up and get out there and be a father. Well, being a father, this is the best part of being a father right now, or a wife, or a mom, or a daughter, sister, whoever it may be. This is essential to be the best version of yourself in motherhood or fatherhood,
right?
And taking some time for yourself. So it's interesting when that individual starts feeling a little bit better,
sure,
right? And their disease wants them to leave. But going back to what Jakob mentioned, is it's hard to say like this person's going to make it, this person's not, because I agree with Jakob. I'm wrong most of the time.
Well, I think that's awesome. That's the reality that you guys are been doing this for a long time, and there's not any apathy or jaded. You're not jaded, and,
right?
And putting a prejudgment on somebody that's going to come in here and say you continually get just. I don't even know if it's getting surprised if you don't know. You got the hope that they're going to make it.
So the prejudgment that everybody's going to make it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. That's the goal is 100% always. So
yeah,
I love that.
The hard part is as a facility, as a team, knowing when to acknowledge that just not right now. With that individual, when you have to, the consensus of the team is, we've done all we can for little Bobby or Susie, but they're just not willing right now. That is difficult because, once again, we're all human beings. We go home at night and lay our head down on our pillow with our own conscience, and you are left with, did I try everything I could? Did I say what I was supposed to say? Did I deliver the message of the big guy upstairs without getting in the way of the message from the guy upstairs? So it's difficult, but
that'll keep you up at night.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuck yeah, man.
You definitely want to grab a Jakob.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
Listen to me.
Well, that's why we closed the door.
Right.
So that's why.
Beep that out too, Jeff.
Yeah.
There's what do you call it? AMA blocking. You guys get some very good strategies and reminders of, hey, it is. I mean, and you take it that serious. I mean, it's life or death at this point. If you leave, man, and it does happen, and it hurts every time. From what you guys are saying, so because you're here every day doing it, and it's impossible to not get emotionally invested in each fucking client. I mean, how could you? Like you say, we're humans.
Absolutely.
I think I want to get into kind of go back to how this place started in the dream, and fast forward to when you had your sights on a building, because I think our campus is super unique, and really, I just think it's like, if we were going to build from the ground up, I would want it like the blueprints and the pretty pictures that like architects come up with to look like this, and we didn't. It wasn't the first choice. So go through that.
Yeah, it was. Once again, it was a dream come true. It was a God moment where we were looking at a facility that was in kind of on the boundary of Caseyville, Collinsville, and it was essentially just a square box.
Right.
So it was kind of
one structure.
Yeah, one structure. It was just a hall. Basically, that's what it was being used for. And where it was located had a kind of a beautiful backdrop, and it was kind of centrally located by the interstates and such forth. But it was really just a building. That was it. Right. It wasn't much. Where major renovations would have had to taken place, and my brother-in-law, me, Brian Wellen, and we spent a lot of time and went through and dreaming. Who's also, should say is one of the co-founders of IRC.
Yeah.
And spent a lot of time on his back porch smoking a cigar and dreaming, and found this facility, and we went and took a look at it, and excitement went towards, man, you start dreaming about what it could look like after the renovations and such forth, and we put a bid on it, and the bottom dropped out. Someone else got it. And I know quite certainly I was devastated. And Jakob, you were there as well. That was the first big barrier we had to overcome was, wow, this is going to be rather difficult because of zoning and regulations and such forth, and what's needed, and basically the full scale operation we're doing here. And
but Eric, you come from this like highly political, rich background family, and you got people that can make laws and do shit right for you. Is
yeah,
that?
yeah. That's
I think it's important.
And then I woke up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You are one of the most humble, like, you know, you love your blue collar background, and you've shared the story to many people that you just say, I'm just a boy with a dream.
Yeah.
But you really were, man. And here this building falls out, your fucking heart's broken. If you ever go like house hunting, especially when it happened, I remember when we were looking for a house in 2020, and it was you go see a house for 5 minutes, and then you put in an offer, and then somebody comes in with $100,000 more cash, no inspection, and you're like, but you picture your life in it, and it's like,
Right.
you get your heart broken. But then the realtor says, it wasn't meant to be. Wait till next weekend. There's going to be a house of your house of your dreams.
Right.
And I remember because we were talking all through this, and I was trying to. There's nothing you could say to somebody who's going through it because it fucking hurts. But it's
Sure.
It's part of it. It makes you grateful. It's a reason. It's one of the. You could have thrown in the towel and said it's not meant to be.
Sure.
Fuck it. You kept going. You got up.
Well, that's what. So Brian, he put on the face and said, "There will be another one." Now, hindsight,
he's
I know
he's Peter
absolutely.
Positive. I do love that.
Absolutely, he's got a beautiful mind, and you know, he's one of the reasons why we're here. But
Sure.
he kept the positivity. You know, every time I got off the phone with him, I'd press the end button real hard because I was pissed at his positivity.
You used to be able to hang up.
Yeah, you used to be able to slam the phone. Now I'm just like, bam, take that, you know, with my thumb. And he wasn't lying. We got a call, and it was to come here at this campus, and it was me and Brian and my sister. And when we pulled in, I drove separately. As soon as I pulled in, I thought, oh, this is fucking a waste of time. We can't afford this. And Brian, once again, he's got a beautiful mind. So he remained positive, and we talked with the property owner and talked about the vision. I got on my soapbox a little bit, and we went for a walk, and we wound up making a deal on this campus. And it was a beautiful thing because to walk you through that, had to overcome a lot of pivotal moments right there. Like you said, Chris, I don't
give up points. You could have said fuck it.
Yes.
Because you had to pay some bills, so you were working a call center.
Yep.
Jacob, were you still you were still working?
No, I was
right?
I was in the call center.
Yeah. Okay, you guys were in the call center. I mean, you get it's a
we were just to not miss any meals and put food on the table, and that when that building, we lost that to another, bidder per se. When that happened, it was because I know it takes, once again, the zoning and stuff. It takes a lot of things to go correctly.
Right. And this is important that you bring up zoning. And we'll get to this. There's fucking stigma.
Spit it out.
Right?
I'm trying to emphasize what I'm getting to.
Is that what you're doing?
Jack-offs. There's fucking stigma. So zoning, when you say zoning, people are like, what do you mean? Well, when you open a treatment center, there's a portion of the community that doesn't want drug addicts and junkies in their back fucking yard.
You got it.
So when Eric says zoning, it's not just, we're going to turn this gas station into a restaurant. What do we need to do for the zoning? It's, we got another uphill battle.
Right. Yeah.
We got to go sit in front of fucking
zoning
community.
is number one. So I've been in the field long enough. I was fortunate to have a job opportunity early in recovery. So almost for as long as I've been sober, or my road to recovery started, my employment in this field is almost just as much, right? June 12, 2014, and let's say 90
Important
days
date.
later, that I was working in the field answering the phones. I say that because I've seen a couple individuals try to open a facility, and zoning is what they ran into as the focal point of their failure.
And it's a way for the community to say, not
No
here,
way.
not in our backyard.
Now everybody can take a moment and think about how they would feel having a rehab next to their home. And I'm a human being, and transparency is what I practice. I don't want to rehab by my house because I don't know who's running it, and I don't know how they're going to run it.
Sure.
So, and that's about as
a good
authentic
point.
as one can be, because I had those feelings when we were looking for facilities, is that even I would feel the same way. And I hate to say that, but that is the truth, because I've been a part of some programs where they were not ran efficiently, and it wasn't safety. It was not of the top concern. It was a business transaction and such forth. So
that kind of stemmed from your Florida
Yeah.
knowledge you have down
Yeah.
in Florida, which we could
Yeah.
probably go for hours talking
Absolutely.
about that shit show.
So with that being said, is this facility was zoned correctly, and when we came and did our renovations,
Yeah.
we,
all right.
we had to work with the community and explain to them how we were going to facilitate these operations, being a rehab, and speak with the county and the township, Swansea Township, and let them know that, answer a lot of questions, essentially. So there was some concern from whether it was fire, zoning, the police, all entities were concerned, and we're located right next to a park. So they were afraid that us addicts and alcoholics were going to be shooing grandma off the sidewalk. And it was not the case. So there was, when we met for our, I guess you'd call it a town hall meeting, and answered questions about how that was going to look, we transparently answered all their questions and let them know that there's a way of doing this where we can be a positive, we can contribute to the positivity of the township, of the town we're in, and do it the correct way, where it's not just addicts and alcoholics, in other words, viewed as convicts that are going to break out and take over the local neighborhood. That's not the case.
That town hall meeting that we went before is one of the, I call a never forget moment. I won't ever forget that evening. And I think it's really important to take a second to talk so well and glowing about the community of Swansea and the village of Swansea. We were, I think, bracing for impact. Even when we were renovating and painting and hammering nails. So Eric is is one of our more frugal business partners.
Sure.
Thank God bless him. And a lot of this is a big DIY project.
Sure.
And it was a lot of work. I wish we could on this podcast show the before and after. It
Probably
looked
some
like
pictures.
we do, and we show them on tours. The building was pretty much I don't want to say abandoned, but
It was abandoned.
okay.
It was.
2019, there's people like you say dropped their pencils down and left, and it was a kind of a institutional nursing home type facility with 9 buildings, I think. So we're the outside is like a small junior college, and which is really what I meant by such a cool concept for a treatment center, because it forces outside time. You don't learn where you sleep. You don't eat where you sleep. And that's been such a just advantage and a blessing. It's beautiful.
Sure.
But the buildings need a lot of work, and Eric's a DIY guy, and Jakob was along for the hammering and
Absolutely. Yeah,
painting.
we spent a lot of and looking back, while it was so, those were the times where the unknown, right, was surmounting. But those were some
kitchen
Jacob,
was a project.
Yeah. Jacob, I'll speak for myself. I'll let you add. But I look back, those were the fun times, because we're working and renovating and also dreaming.
Sure.
Yeah, designing a whole treatment program as we're painting and
Sure.
fixing
You'll
everything
never
up.
forget
Yeah,
it.
like-
Sure.
And I remember coming in and just because I couldn't stay away, when I got a
Also
break
couldn't
from my
work,
day
but-
job or tea time. You guys are fucking full of shit. But
Yeah, we were working, Chris.
we were bracing for impact from when the secret got out that we were going to open a residential treatment program for substance use and alcoholism, and it didn't off the bat, and then when it did, I'm telling you, there was just a couple chirpers on Facebook. There wasn't a whole lot. And what I mean by that is there's always going to be people shitting on social media about anything. You could cure cancer and they'll motherfuck you on social media.
Sure.
There was a couple, I guess Charlie calls them Karens, on social media, but no big. I mean, God, fucking no big deal. That was harmless. The chief of police has been the biggest fucking advocate of this place,
Right.
and this guy's probably put me in handcuffs 2 or 3 times in high school, and Eric will never let me live the time down, and he got arrested and
It's
his
the
van.
Swansea in its entirety has been nothing more than supportive.
Oh, it's been amazing.
We went to an event Saturday night, and
Yeah.
and many of those individuals were there, and you know, from the mayor, from chief of police, the fire chief,
Yep.
and the village administrator. Many of those individuals talked about just the positivity of IRC, and you know, it goes back to. It's okay if they had doubts in the beginning, right, and concerns, because
Valid, like you
Who
said.
wouldn't?
who
Yeah.
wouldn't?
Yeah.
And now through living the example, seeing
The
those
T word.
individuals, the teamwork,
What I was saying is the T word that you guys use, fucking transparency.
Right.
yes,
That you've had from day one with the chief of police.
yes.
Toured, phone numbers, call me
Yes.
if there's ever any issues.
Well, and I have to say this: the level of transparency they've done with us. We've had, you know, here's a couple examples. Our fire alarm goes off because of vaping or steam from the showers, and then the fire chief and his team show up and they understand. You know, this may be, you know, early in the morning or late at night, but they still show up and they understand. They still, you know, handshake and laugh it off, and they're the first ones to say, "Thank God it's not a fire." You know, don't
Yeah.
while I'm, you know, apologizing or Jacob's apologizing profusely
for being the vapor.
yeah, but or the police chief and his team when they
Right.
show up, if individuals need to, you know, there's an agreement. If you AMA, we're right next to the township's park, and there's a neighborhood, you know, so. You can't be from day one. There's an agreement. We will notify, and we tell clients this. We will notify the non-emergent line and give them a heads up. It's not to give you a hard time. It's because we practice transparency.
Right.
So there's respect from everybody in the community,
Right.
and our neighbors. You know, we went around and rang doorbells, introduced ourselves, gave business cards, and let them know that we're in the neighborhood, and we're not here for any other reason than to support the cause, spread the message of hope. And if you have any loved ones, relatives, friends, family, what have you, we'd be more than willing to you know, facilitate the services that are needed.
Which 99.9% of people have that degree is Kevin Bacon is down to one that knows somebody in their circle, and which is great for the stigma overall. But that town hall meeting when you got up and spoke and talked about it, your dream, and you said, I know there's been some concerns publicly that we're going to be bringing drug addicts and drugs to the park. I think you said, we've been doing renovations here for 9 months. There's already drugs in your park.
Yeah, yeah. I believe it was the mayor showed concern about us being next to the
Sure.
park, rightfully so, right? And he mentioned, you know, just straightforward, transparently said, our concern is you being neighbors with Melvin Price Park. And I believe now when I'm delivering a speech or something in a crowded room, I kind of black out and don't remember what was said.
No, you're right. You did say this.
I did say, well, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I have the same concern, and it's being neighbors with the park. And it's for different reasons, obviously, but during renovations, we have many individuals, because this was an abandoned building, show up, park in the parking lot, and engage in extracurriculars that we're all too familiar with.
Right.
And I think, you know, being next to a park and in the community, a rehab, I know only for certain one thing. When I'm in active addiction, I'm not going to the park that's neighbors with a rehab. So
You're going to the one that's neighbors to the abandoned building.
Correct. Correct. So it allowed us to kind of break through and kind of have individuals think about it from you know, an objective standpoint of also drugs and alcohol are already in the community.
Right.
They're already in the community. They're in every community.
Whether it's Ladue, Swansea, Florissant, Ferguson,
right.
South County, Belleville, it doesn't matter. They're there.
Right.
Union, we know.
But do you want the individuals in the park, or do you want them? Yeah. Or do you want them in a facility getting help?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, once again, 10 years ago when needed help, those services weren't available in this area. Or if there was an extensive waiting period for a state-funded program. So,
and to that point, even where I went it was such a hospital feeling, like psych ward type feeling, and it was not. And the vision from the beginning, no matter what building we landed in, you said we do not want it to look like a hospital.
Right.
Do not want it at all to look like a hospital, and that was always the vision. Talk about achieved. And one of the most powerful things I've heard you say on tours, we give tours often to different groups, to people that work in the field or adjacent. We've given it to family members. We've given quite a few tours, and you've said this. I say it now. It's. I would send my kid here to this. I would feel comfortable sending my kid to this facility.
Absolutely.
You say it's not Passages of Malibu, but it's, it's not a fucking psych ward. We get that feedback often from clients that,
sure.
There's the dorms are comfortable. They're, the detox is to just relax and start feeling better. There's good food.
We wanted to make it comfortable.
You got a gym where I keep my shit quick, fucking look at these.
Yeah. We wanted to make it comfortable.
I'm in the cafeteria more than I am the gym.
I have a friend who had a loved one here that just recently graduated, and they just want to know how to give back. That's the thing.
Wow. Now you tell me.
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea.
I'm not going to tell you who it is. No.
You can't talk about it. Although maybe you can.
It was off the record, right? So.
Apparently. Fuck, I had no idea.
No, it's comfortability is a big thing. Yeah. So we wanted to make sure, when individuals came in, the homie, I don't even know if that's a word, and I don't mean in like my homie, my friend, my guy. I don't mean like that.
Call him Easy for nothing.
Yeah. We wanted it to be homey. We wanted someone to be comfortable when they came in, not to feel like they're in an institution. Right. Why they're not in a hospital. They're not in, like you said, a psych ward or anything like that. We wanted it to feel like home. And I think we did a really great job in doing that. Renovate, put a lot of hard work in. And I always tell the clients too, it's not the Taj Mahal. When someone calls in, you can visit our website, see the pictures. Those are real pictures, and
not AI.
Yeah. And we are not the Taj Mahal, but we are very comfortable. And the barometer was, Chris, would you send your loved one?
Right.
Would I sleep here? And the answer is absolutely.
Probably have a couple.
I have. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's it worked out, and the open campus too breaks up some of the monotony of being.
It separates like home from work.
Yeah,
that's what's beautiful about the layout is the dorms are extremely homey. That's your house for the next 30 days or longer. Like it's going to be homey. In our main administration building, where all the groups, therapy, eating, all that, like that's your job. So it's really more professional looking. Sure. It's really Jen did an amazing job. We can't take any credit for that part.
No, Jennifer, my sister did all of it.
Oh yeah,
did she fucking do something to the studio?
Well, that's why it looks the way it does. She has not been here.
Right.
Well, I'll say this: the dorms here are nicer than the private college I went to.
Sure,
they are.
That's what I'm glad you said that, because when you're talking about like the admin, I feel like I'm going. I don't remember a whole lot of my fucking days at U of I, but some classrooms I did go to. You're there to learn.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And go to school and in the group rooms. Yeah, the cafeteria. It's right. I like how you said that.
Well, and then furthermore too is not to sound cliche, but it's the staff.
Oh yeah,
it's
the
staff.
Next, yeah,
nursing staff. My wife Molly, she's
don't steal my thunder. I don't bring her up.
Yeah. So then
we're
I'll
finishing
let that,
with her.
I'll
we're
let
finishing
that.
With her.
Yeah, I'll let that be. But it's the staff. All the directors are directors of. It's all the staff. I can't say that. I can run down the list. It's all of them.
Yeah.
But that's who makes it feel homey.
Yeah.
And they are also a homie.
I love it. There
So
you go.
they believed in it, and that's the best part about it is.
That's perfect.
All the staff, we all, like, everybody that worked, like, all the staff go by that concept of, like, how would you want your loved one treated?
Right.
And that's how we treat them, you know?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean sugarcoat everything. Like, there's still
Fucking
like that,
coddled, no.
Yeah,
Right.
it means what kind of treatment do you want your loved one to receive, and that's what we're going to give.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Which is
good.
also the best compliment in the world, because the best compliment I ever had since working here is, hey, I sent my loved one to you guys.
Yeah.
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 Especially from like an alumni client or a staff, like, I want my loved one to come here.
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest compliment in the world. Somebody's going to trust us
Sure.
with helping them. You
Or
know?
if someone's came through our program and like Jacob just said, now they're referring a loved one here.
Right.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
that. What more can you ask for?
That's not a
our
better
Google
compliment.
reviews, and I don't want to say this, but look at our Google reviews.
Right.
You know, we unfortunately we're blue collar. We can't pay for all of those. You know, so it's quite the accomplishment
Right.
when not only you have this dream and it comes to fruition, but then you're also doing a pretty damn good job.
You're doing it
Yeah.
right, you know.
Yeah.
I will say back to the facility itself. I have lived in this area. I'm not from here, but I've lived here for like 20 years almost.
You can.
And so I'm
You're
from here
still a
now.
transplant.
Yeah. Okay.
You ain't no bad
Thanks a
boy.
lot. Well, anyways, I was just thinking, like, I lived a block away from here almost, like at the Morgan Street Apartments. And
Really, I didn't know that.
yeah, that's where I moved here when I first got here. I didn't even know this thing was here. Like the
I used to buy
buildings.
a ton of fucking blow from those
Did-
apartments
did
back
you?
when I was 18, 19.
Okay.
Good story, Chris.
I wish I would have known. No. I could have sold to you. No, just
You
kidding.
made a lot of money.
Yeah. No, but I didn't know this was here. And if you would have said, hey, find any facility like this, the only thing I could have thought of was the community college out there that was
Yeah.
even
Right.
close to this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have known this was here at all.
Well, Jeff, that goes back to the dream on how this
Yeah.
played out. Like I said, when I pulled in, the first thought was, full transparency, was no fucking way.
That's that enemy you have, always telling you you're not
Right.
fucking good enough.
Absolutely.
Right.
I have a thinking problem,
still
not a
do,
drinking
though.
problem.
I-
Absolutely. Forever.
Yeah.
So,
That's why you need all them shoes.
so pulling in, seeing that's my first
Yeah.
thought. The second thought is, I'm with you, Jeff, is born and raised Fairview Heights, 37 years. I didn't know this was here.
Right.
Sure.
And all the buildings, I thought it was some type of like government administrative buildings, and it's close to everything, but it's tucked off a little bit to where you don't feel like you're in the middle of the town or
Right.
the city.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to hit dingers over the fucking short porch here at Melvin Price Park 2 at a time, and because I was a yeah, right, fucking baseball pussies. Played hockey, but I didn't know it was here either. And it's funny too because I've driven down 159 my entire life, and there's that sign that's still there. It's a specialized living center, and it's talking about this campus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
I don't think it's there anymore.
I didn't know.
No.
They took it down.
Did you take it down?
It's not now, but it's not there anymore.
I'm gonna show you. It's
The
still
city
there.
did, but
Well, they should put fucking IRC up on that.
That's
Yeah.
right. We're things to come.
You know, and let me go back to that town hall. The chief of police got up at the end, and this is where I got fucking choked up because he was talking to me. He was talking to all of us. He said, "These are not criminals. This is the disease."
Absolutely.
And to hear a police officer say that, a chief of police say that in a town hall meeting with so much conviction, you could see it in his eyes. I think he was, I mean, I'll never forget that. So Chief Blumberg, shout out. He, like, I mean, you feel, I don't know how you guys felt. You were in the room. Like, I felt like a fucking scene for us. I'm like, God damn, man. Because there's so many times we're doing shit and we're criminals, and there's people way worse off than us that they're just criminals or junkies or fucking drunks, and to say that is a sign of, I think, bigger things to come, that the stigma's coming down. And these guys, these cops, are fucking Narcaning people more than anybody. They're the first responders, the cops, the firefighters. They're the ones that are pumping, and that's each time they hit somebody with Narcan that's fallen out, like, it's a life or death. It's traumatic for them.
right.
Well, here's one that you can only imagine, is that there's individuals in the police force in the surrounding precincts that have came and got help here.
Bingo.
So if that doesn't speak volumes for them to entrust in IRC to do that, and yeah, when the police chiefs stood up and said what he said, that was, it was almost like an out of body experience, right? We sat there and we heard him.
We weren't expecting this.
No.
He stood up and echoed what we were saying. And when I say echoed, I mean solidified the hell out of it, because this is a man that lives in the community and believed what we were saying, and also sees it day in and day out with him and his team. And his team, once again, you said a shout out, they are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They are absolutely phenomenal. So the town of Swansea in its entirety has supported us.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Belleville, Fairview, I know the Chambers of Commerce have been,
Sure.
they just have been great. It really has been such a, I naively thought we were for a more uphill battle than, and it was, nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, besides those Karens that I had a little fun with on Facebook.
Sure. Well, even the good side with like the people on the Facebook, because we got in the beginning, especially, I haven't seen none for a long time.
No.
But you get like one person just kind of talking shit on us.
We're going
and
to be
then-
walking our dogs, and they're
Right.
going to be crackheads. Like,
Yeah.
But then if you looked at it, there was 90 to 100 comments of them shutting that person
Yeah,
down. Like
it
talking
was-
about how great it is. That
do they
we're
call
here.
that ratioed?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So that was the beauty. Like that's what Swansea's been like. Maybe one
That's a
person will
great
say something
point.
bad, but
Right.
90 people afterwards.
That is
are
such a
saying
good
great
point.
And the
things. So-
individuals that are against it, they have their reasons, right? I believe that they're just uneducated.
Sure.
Right.
They're uneducated, and that's part of the IRC mission. And each and everybody that's involved, the staff, the clients that leave here and graduate, is putting on their cape and spreading the message of hope.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to. All of us are billboards and have to share with individuals our experience, strength, and hope, because it's going to help the next person in line.
And also help break that stigma.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because it's. I think we've made some growth with substance use, and now it's being spoke about, and Jeff, mental health as well. But we still got a long ways to go.
And that's the purpose of this whole fucking podcast, is to
absolutely
just continue to amplify that message, and it's important because it's actually like I planned this, and we don't do any show prep, but as we're kind of wrapping up here, there's two things I want to hit, and I've whispered it twice, because you've mentioned June 12th a couple different times, and this town hall meeting was a couple weeks before June 12th of 2023. Tell us what the significance of that date is.
Yeah, so June 12th, 2023 is when we opened our doors, and it wasn't until June 12th, 2023 did I realize 9 years prior, June 12th, 2014, I was on an airplane going down to check into programs. So,
One-way ticket.
One-way ticket. So that's my sisters bought it for me, and they believed that there was a way out, and there is. And the irony is it's been a family ordeal. But going back to Jennifer, my sister, she was my biggest critic. We bumped heads quite a bit, but the irony, the plot thickens, right? She here today believed in the mission and is my, our business partner.
When those two go at it, get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. Nobody's safe, and there's
That's
no
the
out of
best
bounds.
advice I've probably given on this podcast.
Yeah.
If you have the unfortunate pleasure of watching those two go at it, get the fuck out.
That's the nice thing if you work here, I guess, is that you can actually leave the entire building and go somewhere else.
Sure, right. Hide out over here.
But it's been and the ownership group. So that's something too. That's been a big ordeal. Brian Wellen deserves a lot of credit, man, because there's countless hours sitting on the back porch of him and my sister while we summer, spring nights smoking a cigar, dreaming about this. And he had an unfortunate set of circumstances that it pushed him into going head first into this field when he lost his cousin to a fatal overdose. And we put on a car show every year to support that.
In honor of Corey, right?
Yeah. And, fatal overdose. And that's when he, probably got tired of hearing me dream about what is to come or what was to come in the form of IRC. But him and my sister, man, they've supported the mission all along the way. And the ownership group with yourself, Chris, and it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
If you would have told me 20 years ago we'd be doing this, and
Oh, man.
business partner with Jennifer, then I would have.
Right.
But I would have it no other way. The way that you approached me about this,
Sure.
And I guess you got limp that night or something. But we sat down at Olive and Oak and had a steak, and you were telling me about this dream, and I was just fucking like teary-eyed in excitement and so proud and not surprised and knew it was coming, and just waiting for him to say, can you we want to be a part of this? And he never asked, so I didn't want to make it about me. I can make things about me quite easily, but I didn't that night. And he, about 6 months later, he called me. He's like, tell me about it. And he's like, what do you think? You want to? I'm like, fuck, I thought you never asked. He's like, I was going to ask you that night, but you were supposed to say something to me. I was like, it's like, I thought you were going to be like, here, what do you need? What do you need?
Yeah.
We both pussed out.
Absolutely.
But here we are, man. And
well, and that goes back to that's the thinking problem, right?
Sure.
Is man, I don't want to ask this question because who in the fuck would believe in me? Who would get on board with this? Who would, I'm a heroin addict, right? And that just goes to show you the thinking problem, the disease of addiction, what it does. Doesn't matter your date on a calendar. We still have that thinking problem, and daily we have to, go about it to make sure that disease is put in remission.
Yeah.
Right.
And but yeah, it's been an event, and like I said, it's someone that's believed in it all along. Has been my wife Molly as well. So
there it is. I was going to ask you as we close this up tonight. We've heard this has been just a dream come true, and while this is all taking place in your life, took you long enough, but you had a little event in August? Was it August or September?
Which part? When I proposed?
Well, you can do both, but was it
proposed in July of 2020? 22.
Okay.
And then got married September 21st.
September, that's right.
2024.
Just recently. And and you met Molly in Florida, right?
Yeah. It's not long after I got out of treatment, and we broke the rules, and you're not supposed to get in any relationships.
Jacob's like, tears. Jacob's like, don't fucking say that shit.
Say to him every time. Don't tell people this.
But we're both in recovery, right? So we heard all along the way for 10 years that, two sickies don't make a welly. And, that's, I'm not supposed to say this, but even you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't. There's a lot of uphill battles.
Listen, if I had a nickel for a time I told my 11-year-old son Charlie, do as I say, not as I do.
Right. But there's something in me that, when I see two individuals that are in recovery and fall in love and they swear it's going to work, man, there's no bigger advocate for that than I, because Molly's been with me for 10 years and she's put up with my shit. And man, did I overplay my coverage because she stuck by me all along.
I was shooing it. Yes, you did overplay your coverage. That wasn't like me, being like, yeah, your girl's smoking on. She was beautiful. I was saying that and to your point, kind of, you guys have passed a lot of fucking tests where a lot of you couples that get together in recovery or regularly may have faulted. You guys,
sure.
When you said put up with your shit, she certainly has. And you guys are stronger and better. I mean, she was there for you when you had to go to New Jersey.
Right.
And
All we first couple of years, we were figuring it out.
Sure.
We were figuring it out. But, and there was individuals and couple sponsors sprinkled in there that said, Eric, it's time for you to part ways with that. And she had individuals say the same thing with her. I'm sure more individuals told her that. But, when it just goes to show you a testament that, she provided me the opportunity to be my authentic self. And I know that sounds cliche.
No, it doesn't, actually.
She understands the tough guy facade. It's all because I'm scared of everything. Right. So with her, I get to be vulnerable, and she's the one that sees that and then embraces that and allows me to,
Sure.
Exemplify that when I'm with her, not, hey, look at me and roll my face up tight and all this and that, to be the
No,
tough
you could
guy.
put that on a fucking Valentine's Day card. That's what people should. I'm no fucking relationship advice guy. I got lucky as fucking married a church girl, but I used to be engaged to a hooker. So I mean, what are you gonna do? But so who am I? But that the way you put that is everybody should strive for that. Should be their person.
Sure.
And that's, if you're in a relationship like that's a gift, man.
Sure.
And she's a gift. I know that. Love her to death, and I wanted to not talk too much about her tonight until the end, because it's probably out of all of this, what a dream come true from what you went through for a long time, very sick, couple rock bottoms, tried to go out on your own terms, woke up in a hospital all fucking alone. Reminds me of what I think it was the pastor of mine that said, addiction starts in a community and ends in loneliness.
Sure.
And nothing like paints that picture more than the thought of you in that hospital room. Like,
Sure.
And she's with you through all that. You're going through all this, and then you finally listen. You get humbled in New Jersey, and here we are. Like,
Yeah.
And
Well, and I look back too, Chris, and it makes sense. It makes sense. I guess I lived to a point in my life where I get to, where on my trip to Florida on that plane and a bunch of questions I had, why, I get to answer some of those questions today, right? I wouldn't have met her if I didn't go down to Florida. I don't think I would have got help if my mom didn't pass away, right? Because she... I wouldn't have left home. I wouldn't have been.
Yeah, you said it. You were a mama's boy.
Yeah. So and the arguments that me and Jennifer had, and me and Angie had. I have the answer to some of those questions on why those things took place, and it's pretty cool looking back. And it's like, man, if you just take your hands off the steering wheel a little bit, and no pun intended. I guess in my story I should figure out a different example, but if you let go a little bit, you got to trust in the process, and if those that have a higher power and the loved ones around you, man, everything falls right where it should. So
I think too, if when you start listening, it gets less chaotic.
Sure.
Like you can when you start listening, that's when things do get easier.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jacob, you may not believe in it, you may not know it. Follow the people that have done it before you, and it's to go back to you always capitalizing that word hope, and it's in almost every fucking email you send.
Sure.
This whole story for people that are listening that are hopeless or have lost hope in their loved one, the son or daughter, whoever it is, that comes to their mind when they hear a recovery podcast, or maybe the reason they're even fucking listening in the first place. Right. Talk about like this story can be anybody's fucking story. Mm-hmm. It is so possible, and it can not. It's not going to look like it right now, but damn it, man. This is fucking nuts. Like you said, every day you're still pinching yourself that.
Still giddy to pull in the entrance every single day.
I'll never forget that June 12th of 23. We had Channel 4 News was doing a story here, and on IRC interviewing Eric. Eric was telling a 60-second version of this story because you didn't want to buy more time on the. Right. Yeah. That's all we could afford at the time. We didn't have any clients. So he was getting interviewed by the newscast that did the story, and they're setting up these bright lights right in the front, and the fucking car pulls up, and it's our first admission. And we're like, shit, kill the light. Like, this poor person's like going to walk into press conference.
Yeah.
The client, just the stature and the look of despair and surrender. It was like I was looking in a mirror day one of when I went checked into my place, and I'll never forget that day. And that story had a happy ending, but that's why June 12th. Also, the Blues won the Stanley Cup on June 12th. But it's a fucking special day. Man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that day, and then you tie the bow with a girl that's way better than you. So
Absolutely.
So it's a dream come true, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been an adventure, and I learned not to question it too much along the way. Just have hope.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, and everything's meant to be.
Have hope and tighten the fuck up.
That's right. You got to tighten up.
Thanks a lot, brother. We're going to have you on a lot more, so start doing some roundtables after we rattle off a bunch of guests and just bullshit. And some of these days we'll bring some alumni on that you may have had some of those closed-door conversations with, and we'll get their side.
The inside scoop.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Absolutely.
That'll be a fun. We'll do a little series on that. We'll have to give them some makeup on their black eye.
I appreciate you guys having me, and continue spreading the message of hope.
Thanks for supporting us, and we appreciate you, love you, and like I said, tighten up. Let us pray.
If you're struggling or know someone that is, please have them check out our podcast and reach out to Chris or me. We want to listen, and we're super eager to help. Our music is Anti-Hero by McCall and Gentle Waters by Wild Wonder. For more information, visit pondoffsanonymous.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.